What if I told you that some of the most powerful protein sources on the planet have nothing to do with chicken, beef, or eggs? Most people in this country have been told their whole lives that meat is the only serious way to build muscle and stay strong. But that story leaves out an entire world of plant foods that match meat gram for gram on protein and outperform it on long-term health. Today, Timothy is going to show you 20 of them that will completely change the way you think about food forever. Stick around because number 12 on this list has more protein per serving than a beef patty, and Buddhist monks figured it out over 1,000 years ago. And number 3 packs 60% pure protein by dry weight, which is more than almost any food ever studied. If you want plant-based nutrition knowledge delivered straight to you every week, hit that subscribe button right now because you do not want to miss what is coming. All right, let us get into it. Here are 20 plant foods with more protein than meat, ranked from impressive to absolutely mind-blowing. Number 20, hemp seeds, the complete protein your pantry is missing. 3 tablespoons of hemp seeds deliver around 10 grams of protein with all 9 essential amino acids in ratios that closely match what the human body actually needs. That is comparable to 1.5 ounces of chicken, but it comes packaged with omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids in a ratio that research links to reduced inflammation throughout the body. Hemp seeds were consumed across ancient China and the Middle East as both food and medicine long before modern agriculture largely forgot about them. Home growers in USDA zones 4 through 8 can cultivate hemp with minimal effort, and in colder northern states, you can start them indoors after the last frost. Stir 3 tablespoons into a morning smoothie or sprinkle them over a salad, and you have added serious protein without changing the flavor of anything. Hemp seeds got sidelined in this country for decades because of their association with marijuana, and that confusion cost people access to one of the best plant proteins nature produces. Think of it as the seed that finally got its reputation back and brought 10 grams of complete protein along to celebrate. Number 19, pumpkin seeds, the American protein tradition hiding in plain sight. Every October, millions of Americans carve pumpkins and throw away the best part. 1 ounce of hulled pumpkin seeds delivers about 9 grams of protein, along with magnesium, zinc, iron, and phosphorus at levels that rival red meat. Zinc is a mineral most people associate exclusively with animal foods, and pumpkin seeds are one of the few plants that deliver it in meaningful amounts. Research links regular pumpkin seed consumption to improved prostate health in men, better sleep from their tryptophan content, and lower blood pressure from their magnesium levels. Pumpkins grow across most of the country in USDA zones 3 through 9, meaning a simple backyard garden can produce your own protein supply alongside a beautiful trailing vine. A handful of seeds as a daily snack, ground into seed butter, or stirred into soups costs almost nothing and provides nutrition that would have shocked anyone looking only at the orange shell. Think of it as the protein hiding inside the decoration that the whole country puts on its porch every fall and nobody thinks to eat. Number 18, sunflower seeds, the American crop that feeds the world, but not enough of us. The United States grows sunflowers commercially across the Dakotas, Minnesota, and Kansas in massive quantities, almost entirely for oil. The seeds themselves are among the most underrated protein foods available. 2 ounces of hulled sunflower seeds provide around 12 grams of protein, along with vitamin E, selenium, folate, and copper. Most Americans do not get nearly enough vitamin E, the fat-soluble antioxidant that protects cell membranes from oxidative damage. And sunflower seeds are one of the most accessible sources available. Studies link them to reduced inflammation, improved cholesterol, and lower blood sugar after meals from their chlorogenic acid content. You can grow sunflowers in USDA zones 3 through 9 with almost no effort. They are warm season annuals that thrive in full sun and produce edible seeds within about 100 days. Roasted with a little salt, ground into sunflower seed butter, or added to homemade granola and bread. Think of it as the crop that grows 10 feet tall in your own yard and produces enough protein to make any nutritionist stop and take a second look. Number 17. Black-eyed peas, the southern staple that science just caught up with. Black-eyed peas have fed the American South for centuries, brought from West Africa and built into a cornerstone of Southern cooking because they are productive in heat, nutritious, and filling enough to sustain people doing hard physical work. One cooked cup delivers around 13 grams of protein, along with folate, potassium, and iron in amounts that compete with many animal sources. Research consistently shows that populations eating legumes regularly live significantly longer, and black-eyed peas fit squarely into that pattern. They grow in USDA zones 5 through 11, covering everything from Virginia south through Florida and west to California. In northern states, plant them after the last frost in warm soil, and they produce abundantly. Simmered low and slow with onion and garlic, they do not need anything else to be extraordinary. Black-eyed peas disappeared from many American tables when processed convenience foods took over, but the South never fully forgot what these legumes were. Think of it as the food that fed a region through hard centuries and knew exactly what it was doing the whole time. Number 16. Chia seeds, the ancient runner fuel going mainstream. Aztec and Mayan long-distance runners relied on chia seeds as a primary endurance food. The word chia means strength in ancient Mayan, and the nutritional science behind that claim is solid. 2 tablespoons deliver around 5 grams of protein, along with 11 grams of fiber, omega-3 fatty acids, and calcium at levels higher than most dairy products. When mixed with liquid, chia seeds absorb up to 10 times their weight in water and form a gel that slows digestion, stabilizes blood sugar, and sustains energy for hours. Research confirms these effects on post-meal blood glucose, cholesterol, and gut health. You can grow chia outdoors in USDA zones 8 through 11, and in cooler US climates, they work well as a warm container plant in a sunny window, mixed into overnight oats, stirred into water with honey before a workout, or made into chia pudding with almond milk. Chia seeds were lost for centuries after colonization dismantled the food systems that relied on them and then got rediscovered by endurance athletes who could not figure out why they felt better eating them. Think of it as the seed that fueled civilizations and is currently making its second comeback in American kitchens. Number 15. Amaranth, the grain the Aztecs built an empire on. Spanish colonial authorities actually banned amaranth because they recognized it as the nutritional foundation of the people they were trying to subdue. One cooked cup delivers around 9 grams of complete protein, making it one of the only grains to contain all 9 essential amino acids in a single food. It is also packed with lysine, the amino acid that is scarce in almost every other grain, along with calcium, iron, and magnesium. Studies show amaranth lowers cholesterol, stabilizes blood sugar, and has anti-inflammatory effects. It is naturally gluten-free. Amaranth grows across an extraordinary range in USDA zones 2 through 11, tolerating heat, drought, and poor soil in ways that most crops simply cannot. You can grow it in a standard garden bed as both a food crop and a striking ornamental with feathery red and gold plumes. Pop the grain like popcorn, boil it into porridge, or grind it into flour for flatbread. Amaranth got wiped from the historical food record intentionally, and it took centuries to find its way back. Think of it as the grain that an empire built itself on, and that not even a colonial ban could permanently erase. Number 14. Wild rice. Not actually rice, but more protein than anything near it. Wild rice is not technically rice at all. It is the seed of an aquatic grass native to the Great Lakes region, and a sacred food source for the Ojibwe and other indigenous nations of the northern United States for thousands of years. One cooked cup delivers about 7 grams of protein, nearly twice what brown rice provides, along with fiber, folate, zinc, and antioxidant levels that outperform most cereal grains by a wide margin. Its glycemic index is lower than any common grain, sustaining energy without the blood sugar crash that refined carbohydrates cause. Wild rice grows natively in USDA zones 3 through 7, particularly in the shallow freshwater lakes of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Home cultivators with a garden pond or large water feature can grow it themselves in those zones. simmered until the grains split open and stirred into soups, grain salads, or stuffed vegetables. Wild rice got pushed to the margins when industrial rice production took over American tables, but this grain was here long before that industry existed. Think of it as the native food that grew in American waters before any of us arrived and has been patiently waiting for the country to catch up. Number 13. Nutritional yeast, the cheese flavor that never needed a cow. Nutritional yeast is a deactivated yeast grown on molasses or beet sugar and dried into golden flakes that taste remarkably like Parmesan cheese. 3 tablespoons deliver around 8 grams of complete protein with almost no fat or carbohydrates. It is also one of the few reliable non-animal sources of B vitamins, including B12 in many fortified versions, which is the nutrient most often cited as a concern in plant-heavy diets. Research links its beta-glucan content to improved immunity and reduced LDL cholesterol, and its zinc and selenium levels hold their own against many animal sources. Sprinkled over pasta, stirred into soups, blended into dairy-free cheese sauces, shaken onto popcorn. Any savory dish benefits from it without the calories or saturated fat of actual cheese. Nutritional yeast got ignored by mainstream food culture for decades because it sounded strange. One taste tends to change that immediately. Think of it as the cheese flavor that brought a full amino acid profile along and never asked anyone to justify the swap. Number 12. Seitan, the wheat protein that Buddhist monks figured out 1,000 years ago. And here is the one I teased at the beginning. Buddhist monks in China developed seitan over 1,000 years ago as a high-protein food during fasting periods. The result is so effective that it genuinely challenges people in blind taste tests. Seitan is made from vital wheat gluten, the protein component of wheat, after the starch has been washed away. 3 ounces of cooked seitan delivers between 20 and 25 grams of protein, putting it ahead of most cuts of chicken and pork. Low in fat, low in carbohydrates, and containing iron and calcium. The one important caveat is gluten. Seitan does not work for people with celiac disease or serious gluten sensitivity. For everyone else, it is an extraordinary protein source. Simmered in seasoned broth, sliced and pan-seared with garlic, or marinated overnight and grilled over charcoal. You can find it pre-made at most natural food stores, or make it at home in under an hour using vital wheat gluten flour from any health food retailer. Think of it as the 1,000-year-old monk food that figured out 25 grams of plant protein per serving long before anyone had a nutrition app on their phone. Number 11. Tofu, the ingredient everyone has tried wrong at least once. Most Americans have encountered tofu in a mediocre form, waterlogged, bland, texturally regrettable. That experience has nothing to do with what tofu actually is when prepared correctly. Half a cup of firm tofu provides around 10 grams of complete protein, along with calcium, iron, manganese, and selenium. Research on soy protein shows consistent cardiovascular benefits, including reduced LDL cholesterol and lower inflammation markers. And the current position of the American Heart Association supports regular soy consumption as safe and beneficial for most people. Here is the preparation secret that changes everything. Press the excess water out of firm tofu before cooking. Wrap it in a kitchen towel, set something heavy on top, and wait 30 minutes. Pressed tofu absorbs marinades deeply, crisps in a cast iron skillet, and holds its shape in stir fries in a way that waterlogged tofu never will. Traditional use across East Asia spans over 2,000 years, from silken tofu in delicate broths to firm tofu lacquered in soy and ginger over high heat. Think of it as the protein that was never the problem, but kept getting blamed for the cook's mistakes. All right, I have to pause here because a lot of people watching this channel have started asking where they can actually source quality versions of these foods and where to find reliable seeds for the ones worth growing at home. That is exactly the right question, because there is a real difference between a hemp seed from a trusted grower and the mystery bag at the back of a discount shelf, and that difference shows up directly in your nutrition. I have done the research and put my trusted sources in the description below. Now, let us get into the top 10. Do not go anywhere because this is where it gets genuinely surprising. Number 10. Green peas, the vegetable your grandmother already knew was special. Green peas are probably the most underestimated protein food in the country. People serve them as an afterthought and have no idea they are eating a legume with serious credentials. One cooked cup delivers around 8 grams of protein, more than an egg. They are also rich in vitamin K, vitamin C, thiamine, and folate. Pea protein has become one of the fastest growing supplement categories in the US because its digestibility score rivals whey protein without any dairy allergen concerns. The whole food gives you all of that protein plus fiber and micronutrients that isolated powders cannot replicate. Green peas grow as a cool season crop across virtually every USDA zone in the country. And in warmer southern states like Florida, Texas, and California, you can often harvest 2 crops a year in spring and again in fall. Split pea soup has fed American families through hard winters for generations. Fresh peas eaten straight from the pod in a summer garden. Think of it as the vegetable that was quietly doing serious nutritional work the entire time everyone was treating it like a freezer bag filler. Number 9. Quinoa, the complete protein grain that almost disappeared. Quinoa is the only grain consistently confirmed as a complete protein, containing all 9 essential amino acids in one food. One cooked cup delivers about 8 grams, along with iron, magnesium, phosphorus, and manganese at meaningful levels. The plant is native to the Andes, where it sustained indigenous civilizations at elevations where almost nothing else would grow. Spanish colonizers banned it for the same reason they banned amaranth. They recognized it as a foundation they wanted to remove. Quinoa grows in USDA zones 4 through 10, preferring cool weather and well-drained soil. Northern state gardeners do well with it as a spring or fall crop, and in southern states, it performs best in the cooler months. Always rinse quinoa thoroughly before cooking to remove saponin, the natural bitter coating on the grain. The traditional communities rinsed it in stream water as a standard preparation step and understood that the rinse was not optional. Think of it as the ancient grain that answered the complete protein argument made for meat perfectly and waited patiently for the rest of the world to finally listen. Number 8. Chickpeas, the legume that built the Mediterranean world. Chickpeas have been found in archaeological sites in the Middle East, dating back 9,000 years, and have sustained populations across the Mediterranean and South Asia for most of recorded human history. One cooked cup delivers around 15 grams of protein, alongside folate, manganese, iron, and fiber that feeds gut bacteria, linked to reduced inflammation and improved immunity. Research consistently connects chickpea consumption to lower LDL cholesterol, better blood sugar management, and improved gut microbiome diversity. They grow in USDA zones 4 through 8 and need a warm growing season of around 100 days, making them best suited to central and western state gardens with long, warm summers. In cooler zones, start them indoors 6 weeks before the last frost. Mashed into hummus with olive oil and lemon, roasted with smoked paprika for a crunchy snack, or ground into saka flour for a high-protein, gluten-free flatbread. Most Americans eat chickpeas without realizing they are eating a food with 9,000 years of nutritional history behind it. Think of it as the legume that helped build civilizations and is currently sitting in a can in your pantry, waiting to be taken more seriously. Number 7. Lentils, the protein food that kept humanity alive through the hard years. One cooked cup of lentils delivers around 18 grams of protein, and lentils have been a primary survival food across the Middle East, South Asia, and the Mediterranean for at least 10,000 years. They store dried for years without refrigeration, cook faster than any other legume, and cost almost nothing per serving. Modern research confirms what ancient farmers understood by necessity. Lentils have one of the lowest glycemic indexes of any carbohydrate food and are rich in folate, iron, potassium, and zinc. Studies on populations eating legumes regularly show dramatically lower rates of cardiovascular disease and all-cause mortality. Lentils grow in USDA zones 3 through 10 as a cool season crop and thrive in the Pacific Northwest and northern Great Plains, where commercial lentil farming already dominates Idaho and Washington. Slow cooked with cumin, coriander, and a finish of olive oil is the traditional preparation that sustained people through centuries of hardship. Always fully cook lentils to reduce anti-nutrients and maximize the protein your body can actually absorb. Think of it as the food that kept the world fed while everything else was falling apart. Number 6. Black beans, the protein powerhouse of the Western Hemisphere. Black beans were a staple food of indigenous cultures from Mexico through South America long before European contact, and they earned that status with good reason. One cooked cup delivers around 15 grams of protein alongside anthocyanins, the same dark pigments found in blueberries, giving black beans some of the highest antioxidant levels of any legume. Research links them to reduced colorectal cancer risk, improved insulin sensitivity, significant cholesterol lowering, and gut health benefits from their resistant starch content. Resistant starch passes through the small intestine undigested and ferments in the colon, feeding beneficial bacteria and protecting the gut lining. Black beans grow in USDA zones 4 through 11 and tolerate heat well, making them productive in nearly any American garden. In warm states like Florida, Texas, and California, you can often harvest 2 crops per year. Slow cooked with onion, garlic, and cumin over rice is the traditional combination that provides a complete amino acid profile without a single animal product in sight. Think of it as the bean that fed a hemisphere for thousands of years before anyone gave it a Tex-Mex rebrand and forgot where it came from. Number 5. Edamame, protein you eat at the sushi restaurant and never think about again. Edamame is simply immature soybeans harvested while still green, sweet, and tender. A full cup of shelled edamame delivers around 17 grams of complete protein, comparable to 3 ounces of chicken, along with vitamin K, folate, vitamin C, and iron. Research on soy protein shows it reduces LDL cholesterol, supports bone health, and provides isoflavones, studied extensively for their role in supporting hormonal health in women across multiple clinical trials. Soybeans grow across USDA zones 3 through 11, and the United States is already one of the world's largest soybean producers, though most of that crop goes to animal feed and industrial oil rather than feeding the people who grow it. Home gardeners can grow edamame varieties bred specifically for fresh eating in virtually any garden, with full sun and good drainage, steamed in the pod with sea salt, shelled and stirred into grain dishes, or blended into soy milk for homemade tofu. Think of it as the soybean in its best and most honest form before processing strips it of everything that makes it worth eating in the first place. Number 4. Chlorella, the microscopic food that detoxes while it feeds you. Chlorella is a single-celled freshwater algae with a protein content of 50 to 60% by dry weight and a nutritional profile so complete that researchers in the 1940s seriously proposed it as a solution to global food scarcity. It contains more chlorophyll per gram than any other known food. That chlorophyll concentration gives it detoxification properties that are genuinely documented in clinical research. Studies show that regular chlorella consumption reduces heavy metal accumulation in the body, specifically mercury and cadmium, which is an increasingly important concern for Americans who eat seafood regularly. The protein is complete and highly bioavailable once the outer cell wall is cracked, so always look for cracked cell wall on the label when buying it. Beyond detoxification, research documents improved immune function, better gut health, and anti-inflammatory activity from its unique combination of carotenoids, chlorophyll, and peptides. Chlorella can be cultivated in warm, sun-exposed water in USDA zones 9 through 11 outdoors, or in controlled indoor systems anywhere in the country. 3 to 5 grams daily stirred into water or a smoothie is the dose used in most clinical research. Think of it as the 60% protein food that quietly detoxes heavy metals while it feeds you and does both without asking for much credit. Number 3, spirulina, the 60% protein that NASA studied for space missions. Here is the number that stops people every time. Spirulina, a blue-green algae, is between 55 and 65% protein by dry weight. 1 tablespoon of dried spirulina powder contains about 4 grams of complete protein with all 9 essential amino acids. 3 tablespoons delivers 12 grams from something that dissolves in water in seconds. The Aztecs harvested spirulina from Lake Texcoco and dried it into cakes that sustained a civilization. NASA studied it as a potential food source for long-duration space missions because of its extraordinary nutrition density relative to weight. Multiple clinical trials have confirmed that spirulina reduces LDL cholesterol, lowers blood pressure, improves immune function, and reduces anemia in elderly patients. Its phycocyanin, the blue pigment that gives it its color, is one of the most potent anti-inflammatory compounds found in any food. You can grow spirulina in warm, sun-exposed water tanks in USDA zones 9 through 11 outdoors, or in an indoor aquatic setup with strong lighting anywhere in the country. Most Americans take it stirred into a smoothie or green juice each morning. Think of it as the ancient algae that Aztec warriors ate, that NASA engineers studied, and that might be the most nutrient-dense food ever discovered on this planet. Number 2, tempeh, the fermented protein that has been feeding athletes for 1,000 years. Tempeh originated in Java, Indonesia, roughly 1,000 years ago, and has been a dietary staple for one of the most physically active plant-fed populations in human history. It is made by fermenting whole soybeans with a specific mold that binds them into a firm cake and transforms their nutrition in the process. 3 ounces of tempeh deliver around 17 grams of protein, more than a 3-ounce beef patty. But here is what separates tempeh from plain beans. The fermentation breaks down anti-nutrients in soy that interfere with mineral absorption, making the protein and minerals significantly more bioavailable. It also produces B vitamins, and because tempeh is a whole food, you retain the fiber of the original soybean rather than the stripped-out protein isolate in most processed soy products. Research shows the bioactive peptides created during fermentation have anti-inflammatory and cholesterol-lowering properties that unfermented soy simply does not have. Tempeh is available at Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, and most mainstream grocery chains across the country. Sliced thin and pan-fried with garlic, crumbled into grain bowls and stews, or marinated overnight in soy sauce and ginger and grilled. Think of it as the ancient fermented protein that 1,000 years of Indonesian history endorsed long before modern sports nutrition had a word for it. Number 1, moringa, the tree whose leaves outperform everything on this list. And here we are at number 1. Moringa oleifera, called the miracle tree in virtually every traditional medicine system that has encountered it, is the single most nutrient-dense plant most Americans have never grown. The dried leaves are roughly 25% protein by weight. A single ounce delivers around 6 grams of complete protein with all 9 essential amino acids. That is extraordinary for a leaf. But the protein is almost the secondary story. Moringa leaves contain calcium at levels higher than milk, iron at levels higher than spinach, vitamin C at levels higher than oranges, and antioxidant compounds called isothiocyanates that have shown anti-inflammatory, anti-diabetic, and potentially anti-cancer effects in research. Multiple clinical studies have documented moringa's ability to lower blood sugar, reduce inflammation markers, and improve lipid profiles in people with metabolic conditions. In the United States, moringa grows outdoors year-round in USDA zones 9 through 11, which includes South Florida, South Texas, Southern California, and Hawaii. In colder states, it grows beautifully in a large container and can be brought indoors during winter. It grows extraordinarily fast, sometimes 12 to 15 feet in the first year, and the leaves can be harvested continuously throughout the growing season, dried and ground into a powder that stirs into smoothies, stirred fresh into soups and stews just before serving, or eaten as a cooked green like spinach. Moringa got overlooked in American food culture simply because it does not grow well in northern climates and has not been part of the traditional Western food system. But for anyone in the southern United States who has outdoor growing space, or anyone anywhere willing to tend a container plant, moringa is the most productive protein garden you can possibly grow. Think of it as the tree that your body has been looking for the entire time, growing quietly in warm climates around the world, waiting for American gardeners to finally plant one. Here is what I want you to take away from all of this. The protein conversation in this country has been remarkably narrow for a long time. Meat or nothing was the message. That framing left out hemp seeds and tempeh and lentils and moringa and spirulina and an entire universe of foods that have been nourishing humans for thousands of years. The research is not just suggesting these foods work, it is confirming over and over that populations eating plant-rich diets consistently live longer and with less chronic disease than populations that do not. The foods on this list are real. Most of them are available at a Walmart, a Whole Foods, or a farmer's market right now. Some of them will grow in your garden this season. You just needed the list. Drop a comment below and tell me which one surprised you most. Are you Team Ancient Grains, Team Fermented Protein, or Team Algae? I read every single comment and I love hearing from this community. If you have not subscribed to Evergreen Garden yet, hit that button now and ring the notification bell so you never miss a video. We post every week and we are just getting started. See you in the next one.